Okay, welcome to the part 2 of the day. Obviously, we were all out there, or myself, of you were out there this morning, and we were doing the activation of the binary code site. And what we're going to do to start with, just to run through, just very, very quickly, the slides that I showed the day for yesterday about how we came to this point. I mean, we're not going to stop at it too long, but just go through it. Obviously, Rendlesham Forest is where this UFO encounter happened in 1980. These are the two guys that went up to the object, John Barrows, Jim Penniston. This was the object that they saw, or a artist's rendition thereof. This was the symbols that was apparently on the side of it. Now, these were seen by Jim Penniston, who was the only one to actually approach the object. And it was this big one here. I'll just press the kill button. Right, sorry. Shouldn't do that. Wish it didn't have a kill button on it. Right. Okay. And this symbol here, this circle with the triangle and the two smaller circles, was twice as large as the other ones, and he felt inclined to touch it. And when he did, that's when he got the binary code, which he put down into his notepad. It was forgotten about for years. Somebody noticed it and asked him what this was all about. He said, I just felt compelled to write them afterwards, like what we call a download, basically. And they contained various coordinates, one of which was where we were today. 34 is the latitude of where we are today. And there it is. And this is the message. I mean, maybe it's just good to just recap on what is going on here, right? What we got. So we've got exploration of humanity, unclear 8100. Now we later find that relates to a date. Then you have the first set of coordinates. So these are the only coordinates that have got an extra digit at the end of them. So they've actually got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. As all the rest of them have only got 6 digital digits after them. Okay? Now that seems to suggest that was meant to be important. It was like a point of origin. Now, there are various interpretations of the 7-figured number of coordinates as to where it is, but the most popular one, and this is the one that we use today, was that it is actually the location of High Brazil off of Southwest Island. And this can actually be seen as like this glass mountain, this crystal mountain of light off the southwest coast of Ireland from a few locations, one of which is on the Aran Islands. And I was there, I was lucky enough to be able to go to the location where you can see High Brazil. And it was this incredible, weird stone fort right on the edge of the cliff known as Dun Angus. And there's this really weird raised platform there, and it said that from that point, every 7 years, you could see High Brazil. So basically, that's the nearest point on land that you can go to High Brazil. And the various other locations, well, we went around today. I mean, obviously there was Mount Tai in China, the Caracal in Belize, Nazca Lines in Peru, Egypt's Great Pyramids, where else were we? The Naxos Gate in the Aegean Sea, and what's another one? I can't remember now. But anyway, these were the various places, plus obviously Sedona, and we obviously saw what were at those coordinates today. And everything makes sense there, and I think that we've done an incredible job of establishing this. And the fact that a Facebook group is going to be formed, people can share their experiences and their pictures, this is going to get out, and this, I believe and I hope, will become a feature of the Sedona landscape, its magical landscape around here, and it's going to be meaningful for the future. Because the other thing about the message is that it says origin year 8100. Now, however way you read this, whatever calendar you use, it strongly suggests that it's come from the future. Now, this is a weird concept in a way, you know, something coming from the future. The object may have come from the future, the entities inside it may have come from the future, but in a way, it's something that we've come to see in terms of something we refer to as non-linear causality. And this is the fact that outside of normal space-time, normal 3D time and space, that there is no time, that anything that happens on there, anything that happens to do with consciousness, to do with the subatomic world, to do with extra-dimensional activity, is something which occurs outside of linear time. Linear time meaning, you know, we're here at this moment, everything that's happened is a past, and everything that's to come is the future. The future isn't written. Well, scientific experiments have been done to show that the future can influence the past. I mean, tests were done, for instance, where people projected their mind back to the past to try and change instrumentation. In fact, we've actually done these experiments ourselves with positive results. And what you're trying to do is affect instrumentation that's locked away last week and nobody's looked at, and nobody has been able to influence. The timing of it is randomised, so you know people can't focus on a particular moment. The time is only known in the future when to project back and what point you would do it, i.e. Monday, 6 o'clock in the evening, you know, whatever. And that's how results, the machines, the instrumentation, Geiger counter, stuff like that, can be affected. And these stories have been written up, studies have been done, they've been published, they've been shown in things like New Scientist or whatever. So this concept is there, the idea that outside of our normal linear time, there's what we call non-linear causality. What that means is the future can be influenced in the present or the past can be influenced in the present and the future, and all these things are interrelated. I mean, David Wilcock himself was talking about this in his own lecture, and I believe strongly that this is the important messages like this, that it's suggesting that these coordinates, whatever's being said here, is a part of non-linear causality, and it's a message to us now from the future. It might be ourselves in the future. It might not necessarily be extraterrestrials or even what we call beings. We'll come on to those, you know, interdimensional beings. It could simply be ourselves sending messages back and saying, look, we've got to get onto this. It's time to get onto this subject now. Anyway, so we obviously went out to the binary code site at Sedona. We did what we did. We don't need to describe that, although we might get some time to do a little bit of sharing of what people experienced out there. And what I'm so glad about in many ways is that the binary code site was basically unknown in the New Age community. It's not a known vortex site. I mean, yes, JJ, the guide, has been out there at various times, and she obviously feels it's very special, but it's well out of the way of the normal tourist routes, basically. And a map that I was looking at just the other day, in fact yesterday, had all the vortex sites of Sedona in exactly the area of Turkey Creek. They had a rectangle with map of Sedona, vortexes, and a few other things, as if it just wasn't important. And we now know that it was, or is, because not only because of what we've done today, which remember will ripple into the future, but also into the past. But also we know that in Native American tradition, this area was seen as a place of emergence. A sipapu is the term that is used. There's a sipapu at Grand Canyon. There's another one in the San Luis Valley. Some people believe, obviously the stories related to Montezuma as well, that could be one as well. But certainly the Zuni people believed that the area around Turkey Creek, Oak Creek, and that general area, there was one there. So I think that ultimately we found it. And in some strange way, we've established it. You know, it's almost like this, what we've done, will ripple back in time, thousands and thousands of years, so that people can pick up on the importance of it in the past. That's what non-linear causality is all about. Obviously, we went out there, and there's our Snake Mountain. That's what it looks like at the top. Very clearly, I'd love to do some more work out there. We're already planning going back there. I know Augie wants to hang out there for a night before he actually leaves the area. And it's somewhere that definitely Native American people, we know that there's rock art in the area. And Alina over there was lucky enough to find a very beautiful arrowhead today, made of obsidian, in the actual creek. Which shows definitely Native American activity in that area. Here's the glyphs that we talked about, and here's our snake doorway, as we discovered. Now, immediately we looked at it, we realised that this was important, and sure enough, that's what's happened. And, you know, I saw the great snake coming out there. Now, this could have been my imagination, well, it was my imagination, but it's a case of whether it's meaningful. Is this imagination, are these thoughts, ideas meaningful? Well, yes, they are. Because we've checked out in Sunni tradition, who I felt were very strongly linked with that area, that's been confirmed now by Cliff Mahuti, that the snake was very, very important to them, and is seen as an underworld guardian, and there's no reason why it should not be associated with that location. And I think it's like a giant form of a common king snake. Here's a picture of a king snake. That's what I saw. And also what I saw was just like this, you know, this Z-like or Z-like line of energy, and the word Asa kept coming to me. What I didn't mention the other day in my lecture, come back to that, is that Asa is a word in Navajo, which you can see here. From a root zar, which basically means mouth, and asa means into the mouth. And I find this incredibly interesting because the imagery that came with that word was of this rock shelter here, which I've written there, Sipapo. And I feel that there is a rock shelter, and JJ, the tour guide, actually confirmed that there is one of those in that area. As you pointed out, roughly where it is. I mean, it's not where we were, it's a little way away, it's only a couple of miles away, but that's also got to be explored, to see how close it is to that, to see whether it has got any rock art in it, which I suspect that it has. And I feel that this was one of the places that many tribes came to in the past and experienced that. There's a Zuni snake shaman. Looks pretty cool geezer, doesn't he? So, right, and then obviously, unfortunately, and obviously I apologise on behalf of the team that we were not able to get out to this earlier, but there is a huge snake in the landscape around here. It's maybe the head is lizard head rock, or lizard rock there, and its back is Thunder Mountain. We talked about the Thunder people. They would seem to have lived in areas associated with thunder and lightning, which would seem to be supernatural. The first peoples of North America associated the Thunder people with the ability of being able to draw down thunder and lightning. And that's this rock there. Now we are going to go out there afterwards. If people have still got time, they want to go. We're going to go out there after this lecture. So join us on that. Now, we've had a lot of talk about ETs. We've had a lot of talk about interdimensional activity. But how do UFOs really fit into this? I mean, quite clearly what happened at Rendlesham was a UFO encounter, but Jim Penniston is not convinced that it had anything to do with ET. He suggested that the object came from the future, as we've said. So, what do we really know about UFO activity? Well, let's just go through a few things. Firstly, when light forms, as the term we generally use, light forms appear, they generally have an interactive pattern association with human consciousness. There are so many examples from all the way around the world where the objects seem to respond and seem to be conscious, almost as if they are life forms in their own right. So that's one thing. They display sentience. It seems as if they are alive. Forget the idea of, entities living inside them and travelling from A to B inside them. They seem to be alive themselves. They seem to be life forms. They play around with the witnesses. I mean, there's a place called Hestalen. It's a portal site in Norway, and scientific projects have been set up there. They've been operating since the 1980s, when the lights first started appearing in the modern era down there. And what they found was that as soon as they turned they turned the cameras off, all the lights would suddenly appear. They put the cameras back on, they'd all disappear. This happened repeatedly, and it was like the lights were just, having a laugh, basically, as if they were doing it on purpose. And at Christmas, this is interesting, they're all out there, all the lights gathered together to form themselves into the shape of a Christmas tree. I kid you not, as if they're just playing with them, and we're not just talking about pretty lights here, we're talking about structured form. Because it seems as if many UFO encounters begin with lights that then seem to produce more structured craft, that seem to have a physicality, to the point, like Jim Penniston going up and touching the object in Rendlesham Forest, they become physically real. So in other words, they enter our three-dimensional world, but before that, it's almost like they are penetrating in from the outside somewhere. And that's the other thing. This is the other thing that's telling us that they're not necessarily all to do with ET. Because a huge percentage of UFOs just appear on the spot. They don't come from the sky and land and they don't do that. They just appear at the spot, whether that's in the air or on the ground or even coming out of the sea. And the other thing is that when people get too close to them, they seem to manifest in a manner that's representative of what people believe. If you believe in ETs, you'll see greys, you'll see reptilians, you'll see Octarians, whatever it is you want to see. If you believe in Jesus Christ and a staunch Catholic or whatever, the chances are that you'll get a manifestation that Jesus will come out of it. As if the objects, or certainly some of these objects I'm talking about, have the ability to reflect the beliefs and what we call the acceptance level of such an experience within the actual experiencer. And location is very important. There are certain locations where lights not only appear consistently today, but have been doing so for many centuries, and by virtue of that we must assume many thousands of years. There's just one example here, a place called Avebury, where I live in England. The earliest, lights appear there all the time now, but the earliest evidence of lights goes back to the 18th century. Well, actually, it's probably more than that. But there's not specific examples of the downs in that area producing lights. But there's one here specifically recorded of the people seeing lights over a particular mound just outside of and the people believed that this was the fairy folk and that they were guarding treasure. to such a degree that they wanted to dig into this barrow to see if the treasure really was there. This was recorded by a local landowner. And yeah, as I said, it would seem as if we're dealing with a phenomenon that's been around for many, many thousands of years, and we interpret it differently in whatever era we're in. At the moment, we're in a technological age. The UFOs have been around since 1947. For the most part, I'm not saying we're wrong, but I'm just saying, bear in mind what I'm saying here, that we interpret them in terms of technological hardware. And I think that that can often mislead us to what is truly going on here. The other thing is that geology seems to be really important to do with the manifestation of life, not just pretty lights, but structured craft as well. Particularly what we call faulting. This is the tectonic stress and strains of the rocks below our feet. What you'll find, even here in Sedona, which obviously is a vortex site, you can call it a portal, there are countless UFOs, ships, craft, lights, whatever, plasmas, we'll come on to that in a minute, are seen here. And the geology seems to be crucial to the fact that this is recognised as a portal site with many different vortexes at different locations. It's a geology. There is a major fault line that goes through the area. You have the ironstone, the FeO3, which is like the sandstone, which is full of iron. You have all the quartz. You have various other types of minerals which can conduct electricity, can conduct power. What happens is that with the stresses and strains of the Earth, it produces what's known as piezoelectricity. And this is something that can be easily shown if you get a quartz crystal and just start rubbing it really hard with another quartz crystal. Eventually you'll see light generated inside the quartz. By the way, the best way of doing this is underwater. So go into your bathroom and get a bucket of water, start scraping together quartz crystals, and you'll see what I mean. Do it in the dark and try and photograph it. It's great fun, I tell you. And that's on a micro scale. On a macro scale is what seems to be happening in the landscape. I mean, there's other things that are important as well. Things like copper seem to be really, really important, and that's a very good conductor of electricity. And the other thing, and you'll see this again and again, is that UFOs seem to be associated with prehistoric sites that have been important to our ancestors for many thousands of years. In England, they build all of these earthen mounds, and the lights are seen over them with frequency. And I mean, here, this is from a video that was taken by a friend of mine, and he witnessed two lights playing over a Bronze Age burial mound that dates back to about 1500 BC for 45 minutes. Here's one of them, and the other one is actually down here at ground level playing around. And it was like two creatures, two animals, two birds just playing around. And yet the sense is that they're not aware of you, that if you went close, they just flit off somewhere or just disappear. And the chances are that's exactly what would happen. But he happened to be filming in that direction for a TV company, just getting some ambient shots, and he just happened to notice them. Extraordinary. I mean, I've seen this film, and it is just weird. It's just incredibly weird, because you look at these objects, you think, what are they? That they do seem to be alive. And in the same area, you have incredible prehistoric sites. You have the huge stone circle known as Avebury, where I used to live in the middle of for 5 years. I mean, not literally, but there's a little village. It's so big that a little village comes into it. And I lived there for 5 years. Now, very close by is the largest man-made mound in Europe. So we're called Silbury Hill, which you can see here. And there are many, many UFO experiences that I could share with you, but I'm only going to share a few, just show you the strangeness of this phenomenon and how we should keep our minds open as to what's going on. There were a couple. Well, actually, there was three people. A guy, his partner, and a male friend at there. So they were on the top of Silbury Hill. There's a few other people up there as well. One night in late July, and I can't remember the exact date. I think it was 1998, 1999. And they were up there in the hope that they could see a crop circle fall in the nearby field where several appeared before. And they were up there and it got dark, and they looked across the little valley up towards another monument known as West Kennet Long Barrow. And this is much older. This dates back to about 3700 BC. And this was probably a tomb of the dead. I mean, it's huge megalithic blocks in front of it. And it's a beautiful place to visit. But anyway, what happened was that they saw, this was now dark, two balls of light suddenly manifest in front of the Long Barrow. And these two lights, massive, well, I say massive lights, I mean, you know, they were very bright, right from the word go, started coming down the field. At first they just thought that it was people with torches or something. But they started coming across the field which is not part of the regular path. And they seemed to be doing this with purpose. And they then came right to the edge of a road which parts this field with Silbury Hill. And they suddenly manifested in this way. Tetrahedrons with these tiny light beams inside them, as if they were coming out of the box. Both of them did exactly the same. I mean, they were sitting in a lotus position. Anyway, this then disappeared, and suddenly the balls were back the way that they were. But then it starts getting freaky, because what happens next is that these balls start climbing Silbury Hill towards their position. And they go higher and higher until they're actually level with these people. They're right in front of them. I mean, what an extraordinary experience this is. What happens next? Suddenly there's a huge burst of light comes from these objects. The whole thing goes wobbly for them. And they actually realised afterwards they lost at least 20 minutes or more of time just in this one moment. And the next thing they know, the lights are back down, but there's only now one larger light. And I mean, this is the time-wise, by the way, we're getting towards midnight, basically. And this larger light then does something incredibly weird, because two light beings then come out of the side of this object holding hands. So are these the two intelligences, the two beings that were seen earlier, but now in one object? So they came out like this. They didn't detach from the actual object, and then as quickly as they came out, they went back in. And the next thing, the object went around Silbury Hill and out of sight. The story is more complicated than this, but that's all you need to know for the moment. So, I mean, what the hell is going on here? You know, I mean, we know that lights were seen in this area for hundreds of years. So is this the same kind of intelligences around? Would we just interpret them now as ET? And if they're not ET, what are they? I mean, and how do they manage? What are they trying to do? Why are they there? Now, Rendlesham Forest, obviously we talked about it a little earlier, is the object that was seen. But the reason I putting this slide back up here is to point out once again the Redemption Forest, the incident that occurred in 1980 was not the beginning. There were many UFO encounters at Redemption in the 1970s in the surrounding area. And there are records of mysterious lights being seen there in the 19th century. I document all these in my book Light Quest, which is out there. And more importantly, there is a tradition which eventually ended up going into an Anglo-Saxon saga known as Beowulf, which you probably are aware of, which was written at Redemption, about this monster, a real monster that haunted the landscape around Redemption, known as Grendel. And it was said that Grendel's spirit, he was like this huge blackness, the body of this, this creature, like a large cannon. But it was said that he was preceded by his eyes 2 fiery balls. Now this was written about 900 AD, and I am pretty certain that this is a reference to balls of light being seen inside that forest and somehow being interpreted as the presence of a supernatural creature in the form of a canine. And actually you find this in a number of other places, places like Skinwalker Ranch in Utah, which is another big portal site. The culprit creating the mysterious lights and the other weird phenomena there is seen to be a skinwalker. A skinwalker is a human being that is seen to be able to transform into any type of animal. And that these animals, these strange animals, are seen in the presence of lights. And that when you see them, it's like you are seeing the skinwalker having transformed into animal form. Now, that may or may not be the case, but what we do know is that in many of these portal sites, there is an association between the lights and what we call cryptids. These are, mysterious animals that just shouldn't really exist or are out of place. Everything from big cats to dog men to ape men to Bigfoot to Loch Ness Monster. I mean, the Loch Ness itself is a centre of UFO phenomena, little people, Bigfoot, and of course the Loch Ness Monster itself, which I do not think lives in the bottom of Loch Ness. It manifests into this reality when it wants to, and then disappears again. And I think that's the case with a lot of these so-called cryptids. So going back to what we said earlier, what are UFOs really? Well, studies have been done. Firstly, at Stalin, scientific studies, but also by the British government, something called Project Condign, that was released in 2006, and both of them came to the same conclusion about the light forms, and that is that they were plasma-based. What it means is that what you see when you see the light is plasma. Now, I know half of you are saying, well, actually, I don't know what plasma is, but we'll come on to that in a second. That's not to say it's all plasma. But what it's suggesting is that plasma seems to be the stuff, if you like, that allows manifestation of something else. Almost like it creates the medium through which other things can manifest, be it beings, be it structured craft, or whatever. Okay? Maybe cryptids. So, plasma is known as the full state of matter. First state of matter is solid stuff, second state of matter is liquid, third state of matter is gas. Full state is plasma. Plasma ultimately, in a very boring explanation, is ionized gas. Basically, it's particles that have broken away from their primary atom because they're being bombarded by other primary atoms who are all getting excited. And what they do is that they create a chain reaction and expand outwards, creating their own magnetic field. And as they do this, they release tiny particles of light, which we call photons. Obviously, David talked a lot about this in his lectures. And that's why you see them as light, because these objects are made up of tiny photons, particles of photons, and photons are light, basically. But somehow this acts as a medium. This is really crucial. But plasma is the sun, basically. What we see is plasma, solar flares, plasma, cosmic massive ejections of the sun plasma. The aurora borealis, the northern lights is plasma. It is space. I mean, most people think that everything's, stars and planets and whatever else debris up there somewhere. But it's a fact that perhaps as much as 99% of what is out there in space is actually plasma. So really, if you're looking for ET, should we not really be looking at plasma first before even, focusing on a solid planet looking for it? Clearly, there's more chance of finding life within plasma environments. And what's so interesting is that a lot of work has been done in the laboratory creating plasma, and on several occasions the conclusion is that it's alive. It appears to act alive. And you all heard about plasma in the blood. Well, the term plasma used for this pretty stuff, this light, comes from the way plasma moves around the body, the fact that it is doing its job inside our body, and it is quite clearly alive in the way that it works. And this was noticed, and that's why they named the full state of matter plasma, because it was acting in the same way as the plasma in our blood. And the other thing is that there is evidence that, as I said, that it seems to be able to transform and do its own thing and create physical matter, that something is able to manipulate it to create physical matter. In our case, our interest being structured craft. And many of these portal sites around the world produce not just light forms, but structured craft as well, including Hessdalen in Norway, which is somewhere which I said is probably one of the only places in the world, other than maybe the Martha Lights, Yakima Reservation in the Cascade Mountains near Mount Adams, and a few other places where scientists actually accept that mysterious lights exist. They won't call them UFOs, but these same places is where you see the structured craft appearing as well, with frequency. And this is not to say that UFOs only appear at portals or vortexes. They don't, they can appear anywhere. But they cluster, their appearances cluster around these vortex or portal sites. Right, okay, so lights, structured craft, how might this link in any way with abductions and missing time? Well, firstly, there is scientific evidence, the papers are online, that suggest that plasma actually isn't simply three-dimensional, but four-dimensional. In other words, it forms the interface between our three dimensions and higher dimensions. And this is one of the reasons why it is the medium through which higher intelligences or life forms or consciousness outside of normal three-dimensional space and time can exist and can penetrate into our world, basically. So it creates, as I put here, a localized environment, creating a bridge into higher dimensions. Now, there was a neuroscientist who died just in the last year, by the name of Dr. Michael Persinger, he's Canadian, wrote hundreds and hundreds of papers on light forms and their relationship to the electromagnetic world. And at a very early stage, as far back as the late 70s, early 80s, he'd written an account of what happens when you approach these UFOs, and a series of things will happen. Electromagnetic pulses, fields, anomalies, bodily changes, and consciousness shifts will all result. And I mean, he was a scientist who published on this. Clearly, a lot of his work was ignored by his contemporaries. But I mean, he was the guy that really established the UFO phenomena in association with science more than anybody else. And what he suggested is that if you got too close to these life forms, then in essence you entered into a complete altered state of consciousness. But again, how is this linked with abductions? Well, it seems as if when you enter into these altered states of consciousness, what you're doing is you are entering into what we call an entangled state with the phenomena itself. Now, quantum entanglement is the idea that particles, subatomic particles, have twins, and that no matter how far those twins go, if you tweak one, the other one will respond as well. It doesn't matter whether one is on one side of the universe and the other one is at the other end of the universe. They will still have an instantaneous connection with each other, a so-called non-linear or non-local connection with each other. And experiments have been done, they've been getting further and further away to prove this. I think they've now got it to about 10 to 15 miles, that they've sent one, they've sort of parted these particles and sort of see what happens when you tweak one and the other one responds. It's instantaneous. So they've been doing it in bigger and bigger mechanisms. They think that bird magnetism, the way that birds move, that could be related to quantum entanglement. They've been able to entangle crystals, only very tiny ones, so that if you affect one with a certain amount of, let's say, electricity, the other one will respond instantaneously. But beyond that, quantum entanglement is the answer to a number of different things, including telepathy. The idea that seeds of particles in my head may have their twin inside your head, and if they're doing the same dance, you're going to be picking up the same information as I am. In other words, the transfer of information between two minds becomes possible because of the brainwave activity and the way that needs counter particles to do it. If some of those particles, their twins, are in your head, you will be thinking exactly the same thing. It's also the answer to things like premonitions, the idea that information could possibly be passed back from your own future self. Again, they were talking about this to you, is achievable through quantum entanglement, because you could be entangling with your own self in the future, but your own particles, your own head in the future. They can be in two places at once, quite literally. So, in other words, this could be an instinctive thing that goes back to the beginning of the dawn of humanity, where, say, for instance, you're in a jungle situation and you encounter, let's say, a fierce, animal, or tiger or something, and it's just about to eat you. That information can be sent back to you, let's say, just a few minutes to warn you of danger ahead. And you take a different route. And how do you interpret that information? What we call omens, synchronicities, meaningful coincidences. And being able to read them and the way that they affect us could save us in certain ways. I mean, obviously in modern day situations, somebody might have a premonition about not going on a plane that crashes, getting in a car that's in a car accident, etc., etc., etc. That could be information coming back to yourself from your own future self. So coming back to the abductions, if these lights, these light forms are intelligent and are in life forms themselves, there is every reason to believe that the particles in our mind become entangled with those of the object itself. And the object, if it is intelligent, the chances are there's going to be far, far more intelligent than us and has had this knowledge of how to connect with minds in a manner which has been there probably for thousands of millions of years. I mean, you know, we're only understanding this in the past 25 years. Quantum physics has only been around since the 1920s, essentially. So they may have been aware of this for forever, basically. But once we become entangled with these intelligences, we quite literally enter within the plasma environment and are taken out of a normal three-dimensional environment and enter a higher dimensional environment. And we enter into what I refer to as a bubble universe. In other words, a tiny realm, tiny existence which is outside of normal space-time. It's not just 1, 2, 3 dimensions, it's 4, 5, 6 to 11 to 32 to whatever. And when that happens, you essentially cease to exist in our world. You're abducted, if you like, by this multi-dimensional environment and the intelligence is associated with it. And how did I suss this? Because many years ago, I investigated the first ever UFO abduction, car stop, missing time in the UK. It happened at a place called Aveley, just to the east of London. There's London to the left there. I live just here somewhere. Aveley's not far from me. And a family were driving along a road, and they saw the family, by the way, man, wife, 3 kids. Okay, two of the children were asleep in the back seat. The third one was getting very excited that they were seeing this blue light. Okay, and the light passes over them. The child reaches up and puts his hand on the passenger seat, the driver's seat, standing up. Okay, I can't remember his age. I think he was, I'm going to say 8 or 9. That's that age. And they watch the object as it goes over. They're excited by that. But then what happens next is what's important, because suddenly the car headlights die, the engine dies. They can no longer hear the sound of the tyres going over the road. And they turn a bend and they see a luminous bank of green mist. They was described as like fog. But it's just there in the road. It's luminous. And they plough into it. This is the actual location. It's the couple there, John and Sue Day. And they feel nauseous. Everything stops. The whole world just comes to a standstill as they're in this luminous green light. And then the next thing they know, they're 3/4 of a mile further on from where they were. They get home from this short journey, which should only have taken 20 minutes, 3 hours missing from their life. They sit with this story for 3 years until eventually they come to me and I investigate. By the way, during this time, John said he kept having dreams of what he described as gnomes. Okay? And there's John there. And finally, I arranged for hypnosis with a professional hypnotist in London to see if he could regress John back to the time of the missing time experience. And he recounted an on-board experience. These little guys that they call the examiners, and these big guys they call the watchers, right? And it was like a classic UFO. Abduction. And Sue Day, his wife, also began to remember, and I also conducted hypnosis on her myself. And their story, pretty well matched each other. But there were elements of this which didn't add up. Not their genuineness. I mean, I had 400% belief that the experience actually took place, but just a few weird things that suggested something more was going on. One of which was the fact that John said he could recall looking down on the car and he and his wife were slumped down as if they were asleep or unconscious in the front seats of the car, as if they were astrally travelling and looking down at themselves. That's point one. Point two is that when they came out of the mist and they were further along the same road, the children were in exactly the same place as they went into the mist. The two were asleep in the same position. The third one was still standing up with his hands on the passenger and the driver's seat. So how is that possible? It's 3 hours later. So did the aliens, when they waved goodbye to them, put the kids back in exactly the same position, got everybody in exactly the same position, and then off they went back onto the road and closed their mind off of what happened, and it needed hypnosis much later to reveal the on-board experience? I don't think so. I think what happened is that they quite literally jumped through space and time. That 3 hours was not spent on some road somewhere, but it happened instantaneously. They jumped through time 3 hours and jumped through space 3/4 of a mile. But remember, they're outside of normal linear time here, so that jump, even if in our world it took place in a moment, an incredible experience happened to them. This so-called abduction on-board experience. That's the way they perceived it. It was perceived by them and their minds as a UFO experience in the way that it's been told here, and that's it. But John to this day is unsure of exactly what it was that abducted them. I mean, he's willing to accept that the entities involved, the intelligences, who he, by the way, still kept in contact with, he would find him go in dreams to connect with them somewhere in the centre of the universe. He felt that they could be interdimensional. And I think that is possibly the case. Now, dimensions. I think David may have touched on this as well. First dimension is essentially just, if you write it down, it's just like a line. Second dimension is two different axes, so that you can draw something like a square or any shape in a flat plane. Okay? Three-dimension, obviously, is a solid, a three-dimensional sphere, a three-dimensional object. This is three-dimensional. Everything's three-dimensional because it's on three different planes. Fourth-dimensional, we can just about imagine what it might look like. But beyond that, we have a hope of understanding what high-dimensional space looks like, or even how intelligences that might exist in this realm could look like, or how they might act, or how they perceive us even. But the chances are they can see us, but we cannot see them. And this is always explained by the idea of the flatlanders idea, that if we're three-dimensional beings and two-dimensional beings exist, everything's flat. It's just everything's on a flat plane. So that if a three-dimensional object, like a sphere, went through their world, what would happen is all they'd see is a circle gradually getting wider and wider and wider until it reaches its maximum diameter, and then as it passed through their world, that circle would just get smaller and smaller and smaller. They could not see the sphere. They can never see the sphere because they're on two dimensions. They can only ever see a circle that suddenly appears, gets wider, and then gets smaller again and disappears. That's all they can ever see. So if you imagine now, we are three-dimensional beings, we can never perceive fourth-dimensional activity, fifth-dimensional, we can't do it. We can maybe get a glimpse of it, and the chances are that some of our ancestors, the Denisovans, the Neanderthals, and probably other people who had more of a connection with the cosmos and nature and the unseen worlds, probably were able to glimpse fourth-dimensional environments and beyond. And it's something that we're relearning, I think, with conferences like this, and the approach that we have to do toward multidimensional environments. But Okay, we talked about that. So, if intelligences, let's call it consciousness, although we like to call them n beings, and n being the number, as in the number of dimensions, n-dimensional activity, n-dimensional beings, n beings, means that they're multidimensional. They're more than just three. They could be 4, they could be 5, they could be 11, they could be 32, they could be infinite amount of dimensions. If they exist, how do we interact with them? Now, if we perceive everything as extraterrestrial, maybe there are clues there in many of the extraterrestrial experiences. But we mustn't lose sight here of the fact that we may be dealing with beings that are multidimensional. And they might look something like this. This is how scientists perceive of multidimensional environments. So is that what a multidimensional intelligence looks like? Because the chances are that they're not flesh and blood like us. Well, in theory they can't be anyway, because that works for a three-dimensional world. So as I say, these are all ways of showing multidimensional environments. And the existence of these intelligences in high dimensions was first realised by this guy here, David Joseph Bowen. Now, he was a quantum physicist, American guy, came over to Bristol in the UK, was at Bristol University for many years. And one of his specialities, other than just pure quantum science, was quantum environments, plasma environments. And he would create these environments and study plasma. And he came to the conclusion that plasma was activated by intelligences that came from what he called a deeper level of existence. Now, we call that today multidimensional environments. So, in other words, this quantum scientist recognised the existence of what today we would call M beings. And how they relate to portals and vortexes, we're not sure. These are what they call sprites. These are plasma that exist in the upper atmosphere. Occasionally they can be photographed from the ground. These are plasma. Whether they are intelligent, we don't know. It's a great shot. I thought I'd use it. I mean, do the beings look like that? So portal sites. Now, obviously, we are at a portal or vortex site here in Sedona, but there are many others around the world. We've mentioned Hessdalen in Norway. In Britain, we have Avebury, the area of Avebury, and a nearby place called Northern Barnes, which is where the crop circles appear. We have a place called Benton up in Yorkshire, which I'm going to be talking about shortly. But in this country, the San Luis Valley, which is where myself and Lena Reslow over there, who is a film maker, we're going down there to continue work on a documentary about this subject on Wednesday. Mount Adams, Washington State, the Gilliland Ranch. Some of you may have been there. James Gilliland, yeah? You can see lights coming out of the mountain virtually every night, if not every night. And probably more structured craft. There are cryptids seen in the area. It's actually an Indian reservation in that area, so there's nobody messing about. This is land you cannot go on. But you can observe it from a safe distance. And James Gilliland's got a ranch there, people can go there as a big centre. What's it called? Not Sea Setting, is it? East Setting. Right, East Setting. I'd love to go there sometime. Martha in Texas is another great place to go to see lights. And I've not got any others, basically. Mount Shasta, which is again where we'll be going next week. And Skinwalker Ranch, Utah. This is a big high-profile portal site where stuff's been going on, certainly since the 1990s, and in that area, the Utah Basin, certainly the last 70-odd years. And arguably, the stories about the Skinwalker producing this type of phenomena go on much more ancient. As I said, structured craft are involved. We're not just talking about pretty lights, there are structured craft involved. and some more unsavoury elements come into it. And exactly how you interpret this is open to debate. Often these portal sites are associated with animal mutilations, but very strange ones. Ones where, you get just a certain part of the animal missing, or ear cut, sliced up in a weird way, eyes missing, but the vital organs and anything that a normal predator would be after still there. Now, some of this is unquestionably human activity, unfortunately, but there is a strong possibility that some of this is done by some kind of supernatural creature that is associated with portal sites. Now, how it links with higher dimensional activity, again, is a matter of debate, but we cannot ignore the fact that it is there. Now, we also know that when these cryptids, these strange creatures, seem to come out of portal sites that are associated with UFOs, they seem to act in an intelligent manner sometimes, almost as if they want to help us. In the 1960s, at a place called Point Pleasant in West Virginia, many of you will know, there are a number of sightings of something called the Mothman. And this was a strange creature that would fly around with glowing red eyes, again associated with UFO activity. It was investigated by a great, very important UFO researcher by the name of John Keel, wrote a number of books, including one called Mothman Prophecies. Was it Richard Gere? Was in the film called Mothman Prophecies, based upon the story. But the reason why I'm talking about this is not simply from the cryptid point of view, but the fact that they appeared at a time just before a major local disaster took place. A bridge across the Ohio River, known as the Silver Bridge, collapsed, killing, a couple of dozen people. And at that point, Mothman sightings stopped. There was even a Mothman sighting on the bridge. I've been there and investigated this myself, and yet they all stopped at this point. It wasn't Mothman, were the lights trying to warn us that this was about to take place. This is one interpretation. Others might say, oh, well, it caused it or whatever, but I don't think so. I think there's a strong possibility that the Mothman sightings were some kind of prelude. They were trying to say to us something was about to happen. So it does seem, if these cryptids are associated with the intelligences connected with these portals, then they want to help us sometimes, not all the time. I think that they're greatly superior to us, incredibly superior. But they have a relationship with us. Yeah, now did our ancestors try and communicate with these beings, as we call them? And the chances are they did, because at many portal sites you had stone circles and similar stone and earthen monuments, as we've already mentioned. And it seems as if these are the same places where lights appear. This cannot be coincidence. It seems almost obvious to me that the ancients were building these structures to enhance their connection with these other worlds and with the appearance of the light. In other words, that if they did the right rituals, the right ceremonies, they would appear, and if they did other rituals and ceremonies, they probably would disappear. And that there was a connection. They wanted that relationship. There was a symbiotic relationship between our ancestors and this phenomenon. Now, we're going to come on to the communication side of our work with these beings. We went to the Orkney Islands. Sorry, let me just show you that last slide again. This is a stone circle called the Ring of Brodgar in the Orkney Islands. This is just to the north of Scotland. These are islands on the north of Scotland. Mysterious lights have been seen in this area. They're still seen to this day. And we did our psychic questioning, similar to what we do today. We spent a week going around science. And eventually we ended up at this place called Happy Valley. Now, one of the girls there, a very, very psychic, talented lady by the name of Debbie Cartwright, felt that if we did everything correct, we had a chance of just prodding the enemies, just prodding them enough for them to respond to us, turn around and say, "Who are you?" And this seems to have happened when we got to this place called Happy Valley. This is weird little fairy wood, possibly close to where there was an avenue of huge great stones. And whilst we were there, she felt that somebody wanted to talk to us, and she fell into this trance. This was the first time she did it, the whole time we were there, and spoke a strange, archaic form of English, rhyming English, that gave us a message that helped us within our quest, which I'm not going to go into today. But the important thing is, let's see what we've got here, at the exact time that she went into this trance and this voice spoke through her, as I was recording using a sound device, we got a burst of very low frequency activity, these what they call sinusoidal waves, okay, going on, which were not caused by anything, and they were in the frequency range of about 50 to 60, which is what's known as very low frequency. There was absolutely no reason for it being there. We were miles from anywhere, and they didn't have other higher echoes in much higher frequencies, which would suggest it's something more mundane. And my engineer colleague, Rodney Hale, who I've been working with for the last 20 odd years, he was totally flummoxed by it, totally bamboozled by it. He couldn't explain it. So what he did was he looked at all of the recordings that we'd done from many sites around, certainly around Britain and a few elsewhere, to see if he could find a similar pattern. And the only place he found was the one time that we tried to call upon what we now call the Ebbings in Redemption Forest. This sound. That is exactly what was recorded, but because it's in a very low frequency range, we had to speed it up 8 times so that you can actually hear it audibly. But that's exactly it. No explanation for this at all. There are other weird sound anomalies we've got as well, which I'm not even worrying about at the moment. So we've got exactly the same results, and that took place on the 5th of August 2016, the Redemption Forest communication. Exactly the same as one that we got in August 2018 and last year at Happy Valley in the Orkney Islands. So what's going on? Now this really set my mind thinking about how we could possibly communicate with these end beings again. And I had this idea that if I played this low frequency music, in some very low frequency, and just focus my mind and just lay down on my bed and just see what happened. Just see if I could make that link. I mean, it's just a whim, really. I wasn't really expecting too much to happen. But what I did was that as you drift off into what they call non-REM sleep, you enter your alpha waves stop and you start creating theta waves, which are at much, much lower frequency. And that's actually between 4 and 7 hertz. Anyway, cut long story short, I did fall asleep, only momentarily, in a light sleep, and sure enough, these end beings communicated with me. And I found myself in a beautiful landscape, almost psychedelic. It was like green English landscape, and I could see crop circles, which were like circles of concentric circles. There was a whole line of them, maybe 6 or 7 of them, in this field. I could see a road, I could see a track in front of me, I knew that there was woods behind me, and I knew over there, just a couple of miles away, was the white horse of Uffington. Now this is a big hill figure. Not far from Avebury, but not close either. I mean, you've got a little bit of a drive, probably 45, 50 minutes away from there. And I felt that these crop circles had been made by sound. Everyone says in a dream. By sound vibration. Now, David was talking all about this the other day, but I must point out that these ideas were in my book, The Circle Makers, which came out in 1992. The idea that crop formations could be reflections of sound signatures, basically. But I've forgotten that. Remember, I'm in a dream, I'm asleep. And I tried to communicate in this dream. Remember, it's only a light sleep with them. It just said, well, why are you telling me this, and why are you doing this? Why are you creating these crop circles? And their answer was essentially because we can. In other words, look, we'll do that, we want to do it. I mean, there was a sense, I must say this, of superiority in the answer, as if like, well, we can do this, we can do this, if we want to do it, we're going to do it. It wasn't like, oh, this is to help mankind. That was not the attitude. And with it came the thought that if I found the spot, something would happen. Now, I came out of this. Oh, here's the whole thing about things. I don't want to worry too much about that. And I came out of this, and I scribbled everything down. That's a good thing. You must always, if you get something like this, always scribble it down in a dream diary. And I must have been asleep, maybe for 5 minutes, probably no more. But I knew how important this was, and I should write it all down. And I looked on the map, looked in the exact area, found the field almost instantly. And everything was there. The field, the road, the track, the wood behind, everything. And White Horse of Buffington, can't see it here, it's just over there. Right? There's a hill there called Dragon Hill. And that's just behind that avenue of trees. So, at the beginning of November last year, Helena over there came over to the UK, and I just wanted to show her some signs in the area of Avebury and Silbury. We went up to Silbury Hill, spent a few hours up there, getting very cold, saw a nice fireball. And I said, look, whilst we're over here, I want to go to this place. Now, the place was called Sower Hill. That's what it's called, S-O-W-E-R, which means the sower of the seed. Now, it could be coincidence, but I like the weird symbolism in the seed, the sower of the seed. What's a seed? It's a place called Sower Hill. We went there, and from the moment that we arrived there, I did a sound recording. We did a meditation. I checked the sound recording afterwards, and sure enough, we got exactly the same thing. The very low frequency, Sower Hill. There you go, 2nd of November 2018. This is the 3rd time we got it. This time I was told where to go for this to happen. So now I'm beginning to think, we can communicate with these beings, these end beings. But, where do we go from here? And here's the strange thing. This Sower Hill was right next to where I had no idea about this at all. Now, most crop circles appear in the area of Avebury and Hawke Bowls, which is occasionally they appear outside of this area. And 2 had appeared next to Sower Hill, not actually at Sower Hill, but one place called Blowing Stone, where there's a standing stone with a hole in it, you blow through and annoy the neighbours, wherever it is, on August 6, 2006. And July the 18th, 2003, this crop formation appeared at a place called Wakefield. They're both within a mile, basically, of Sower Hill. And both of them have been interpreted by a scientist as representations of higher hypercubes, higher dimensional reality. They are the best examples that have appeared. There are others. David showed you some of them the other day. And I'm not saying who did these or how they were done, you know, whether they were done by extraterrestrials, Mother Earth, or Doug and Doug. I don't care. I actually do not care who did them. To me, these are signs of transformation, and they are incredibly meaningful. And I think that the reason, one of the reasons why I was led to Sour Hill is because of the location of these hypercube rock formations, telling us once again you are dealing with higher dimensional reality. All of the prehistoric sites in the area correspond almost perfectly to the fault lines. Look at this, Bridlington, which is the main little town, Bempton is there. Look at the correspondence, it's almost perfect. That cannot be coincidence, and suggests to me that the people that settled in that area did so for a reason, and that it was to connect with this otherworldliness that's associated with the lights and the phenomena in general. Paul said Clare on the cliffs there, up at Bempton. There's a weird RAF base here, which was abandoned in the 1960s, but is the centre of where a lot of this strange activity is actually taking place. Now, myself and my colleague Richard Walt went with Paul Sinclair up on the cliffs at Bempton just a few weeks ago, and we'll tell you what happened. Now, we didn't see any lights, but we did a number of monitoring on different levels in the EM spectrum and sound, and some very strange things were recorded. Firstly, and this means nothing to me, but it means something to an electronics engineer, there were waveforms recorded in the sound, the sound voice recorders that were so rapid, the changes, that they were between 1/48,000 to 1/24,000th of a second, instantaneously, which cannot be a normal transition. These fast transitions of waveforms, these are audible, waveforms that just suddenly occur. Now, this is the same general length of time of an electrostatic charge. If you saw it like a spark, this is exactly the same type of time frame that it would take, strongly suggesting that these have an electrostatic connection. But that's not the important thing, because we were using a tiny little, very low, an EVP, like electronic voice phenomena recorder, which is just like a glorified sound recorder, really. And on 2 occasions, during recordings on the second night, there were these incredible bursts of activity, where you can see them here, right? So this is us talking, just generally in the background, having we're on this skywatch. And then suddenly, this activity occurs, then it stops for exactly the same length of time as it began, then it goes for exactly 2, then a space of exactly 1 unit again, and then it returned for 1 minute. It did it twice. And I've got here, somewhere, the actual sound that it made. Listen, wait for your ears. That is what happened. I won't play it again, I won't frighten the life out of you again. But this cannot be explained. Rodney Hale, the engineer, has no idea what the hell this is. The only thing that can cause this is something very, very close that might be able to affect the cells within the sound recorder to produce some kind of overload. But that's about as far as it can go. What was causing them, why they're that length, and they also have these same rapid transitions, not all the time, but part of the time. But there seems to be a lot of symbolism within these static bursts. I mean, firstly, quite clearly, if you've got one there, if you call that not, as in a unit where it's not there, and then an area where it appears again, but like in 2, like 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1. And remember this occurred twice, about 40 minutes apart. Now I started looking into this thinking,
Is this some kind of binary message? Bear in mind, obviously, the whole Rendlesham thing. But what I found, that seems to be even more important than simply binary, is that these type of figures are used to calculate the coordinates that are used not in normal computing, which use bits, these bits which are 0 and 1, but in quantum computers, which use multiple forms of 0 and 1 at the same time. And these are called qubits, quantum bits, and they work through the process that I referred to earlier as quantum entanglement. And that's how these quantum computers are going to work. Now, they're already there. They've already constructed them. Companies like IBM have made them, the Stanford Research Institute. But beyond that is the fact that qubits is that they are achieving this using more and more qubits. I think they're up to about 9 entangled states at the same time. Now, this is going to not just revolutionise computing and make everything almost, well, virtually instantaneous. What it means is that the computers are going to have the scope to think for themselves, to become intelligent, not just artificial intelligences, but properly intelligent in their own right. But there is a catch, a problem, and that's the fact that when you do quantum entanglement experiments, something known as the observer effect, or the observer principle, comes into effect. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. What this means is that if you observe the experiment, the results are different from when you don't observe it. In other words, human consciousness interacting with the experiment can change the results. Now, the guys who are making these quantum computers have already started to realise there may be a problem here, because if we observe these computers processing, we could change the results. So they're already thinking about the possibility of hiding them away in some deep, dark basement where nobody can actually see what's going on. Serious. But here's the thing. If we are able to influence quantum computers, if these NBs, as we call them, exist, or even the ETs out there, surely if they have the same knowledge of quantum entanglement and are far superior in their knowledge of science than we are, surely they can affect these quantum computers easily. Now that is obviously very disturbing, but it's also very exciting because it suggests that we could communicate with these beings mechanically, if you like, or digitally, through the use of quantum computers. So, is it possible that we could find a way of interfacing with these NBs using quantum computing? And that is essentially where we're at the moment. Now, those static bursts contain more information than I've given here today. Unfortunately, some of them are still working on it, I haven't talked to you about it. The number sequences, the timing between the two, all seem to reflect the number 31. And the number 31 is very, very important in higher dimensional mathematics, in a process associated with this mathematical formula known as Pascal's triangle. Oh, sorry, go back. Right, so that's where we're at, and I'm going to Silicon Valley just in a week or so's time, or probably actually about a week and a half. And what I want to do is to interest science officers from some of the larger companies in this whole subject. Now, they're already onto it in a way, but I don't think they're looking at it from the interdimensional point of view. They're looking at it more from the ET perspective. And I'm going to be staying with somebody that has the contacts, has the links, and is associated with Silicon Valley, and we're going to try and work towards making this connection in the future. But here's the important thing. The one thing I've realised is that what is the common language between us and these multidimensional beings? Clearly it's not just the spoken word, because that's something of three-dimensional beings. And of course, what is the answer? It's pure mathematics. That's exactly what it is, but meaningful mathematics that is going to trigger our interest in the direction of high dimensionality. I have no doubt about this at all. So that is the common medium, the common language of communication with higher dimensional beings. And that's the direction that I want to take it. Right, let's just finish with something lighter. Right, now in 2008, as I mentioned in my lecture, I rediscovered with my colleague Nigel Skinner-Simpson and my ex-wife a cave system beneath the pyramids of Giza that had been lost for 200 years. And can we get the dark? Where's the gentleman who's?
Dale?
Can we get the lights off to start with?
The lights off.
Yeah. So I want to show you a video. This is a video I put together just to preserve the memory of our discovery of these caves for the first time in 2008. It's been put to a dramatic piece of music, and I just want to show it to you, just to end my time here with the thought that I will be back, hopefully to play a more fuller role within the conference next year. And so, with that, I shall show you this. Excellent. That's it.